Last Friday, a viral video showed the hoodlums forcing registrants to lie on the ground while destroying registration materials and vowing that elections would not hold in the Southeast. In the video, an independent National Electoral Commission worker identified as Anthony Nwokorie was shot dead by gunmen while conducting the continuous voter registration in the Ihitte Uboma local government area of Imo State. Following the violent assault on its assets and staff, the electoral body has expressed fears about the 2023 election, stating that there will be no results at polling units where violent incidents were orchestrated. INEC also assured Nigerians that the body is devising strategies to protect its offices, assets, and personnel. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari yesterday assured the Nigerian people that with advancement in technology by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, the 2023 elections will be different and prevent individuals from claiming millions of votes at elections. Joining us now is the resident electoral commissioner in Akwa Ibom State, Mike Igini. Mike Igini, thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning for the entire team.
Good morning.
It's nice to be with you guys again.
As you would be aware, part of that introduction was referring to some of the statements you made when you granted an interview to Punch newspaper, which was published on the more or less the front page of Punch yesterday. So we'll just take it from there and try to deepen the conversation further. Now, as INEC prepares for 2023, beyond the release of the timetable, what is INEC's clear message to Nigerians? And what are those issues that will make the election successful? Because INEC is saying it's working on strategies. What are those strategies in the face of serious violence and conflict in various parts of the country?
Well, thank you very much. Our democracy is hard won. We work so hard to return Nigeria to civil rule. And I think that all stakeholders who stood up and mighty when the journey of Nigeria and the prospect of democracy was less certain should all come together to ensure that we stem down the tide of insecurity that is across the country as we prepare for the 2023 election. This is so necessary because periodic election is an opportunity for a people to renew the journey of a country and also to renew the policies and perhaps reflect on those who have promoted these policies over time. And that is why it is important, it's very concerning what happened last week in Imo State. We show clearly ignorance at play. You listen to one of the gunmen when he was talking that, look, they are talking about referendum, but INEC is talking about election. That's crass ignorance of the duties and the statutory responsibility of INEC. Under the law, INEC is the only body responsible and charged with the duty of conducting not only election, but also a referendum whenever at any time the country wants to go for any referendum. So why attack INEC? Why kill the staff? Why destroy properties of INEC that even when a referendum is called, that's what will be used? That is ignorance at play. So people need to understand this. And I think this is likely because once an agitation starts, and those who are supposed to direct it are not there, illiterate, ill-informed people become philosophers. And that's the kind of thing we have seen. But however, with respect to the preparation for 2023 election, INEC, as usual, this week, by tomorrow, we are having a meeting. The 36 state commissioners will be meeting. We have the ISES that we'll be working with. They are essentially responsible for security, and it is for them to reassess the strategies for security because the job of INEC is to conduct the election. as is the process. Security is to be provided by security agencies. But there's no way we can do election under the kind of situation we find ourselves. But I think that from the much that we know of what they are doing, that will go on. But with respect to the question you have asked about what message is the commission giving out there, I think that we must appreciate the fact that 2023 election is not just any of those elections at all. It's not a second-term election. It is an election where we have a new elite formation that will determine the next 4 years, 8 years, and perhaps the next 60 years. And that is why it is important that first, all Nigerians who have attained the age of 18 and above, who have not registered before, should go and register now. Two, all those who had issue with their PVC, defaced, lost, those who want to transfer, you do not need to register again. Because some of the data I've shared with you in the public there have shown that the first quarter that started on the 28th of June last year up to December, where we have aggregated a total of over 2 million registrants, both the pre-online, those in-person completed. Over half of that number were all multiple registrants. Those were the categories of persons that the chairman of the commission in his press conference engagement last week declared as invalid and not permanent voters card. Permanent voters card, PVC, remains valid, is not invalid. But what is concerning with respect to this discovery is that it would seem that many Nigerians out there still think that they can do multiple registration undetected, either out of ignorance, and of course from the much or little we know, politicians out there are encouraging people to go and register, hoping that they will have PVC to be warehoused. Please, Nigerians should be informed that all those who will have PVC, who have been buying PVC, you are just wasting your resources. At the moment, we have migrated from automated finger identification system to what we now call automated biometric identification system that will now include facial recognition. And that is why today, across the Federal Republic of Nigeria, in the 36 states, we're able to detect all those who have done multiple registration, over 1 million. Now, from first quarter, second quarter that ended last December, we have now produced over 1.8 million PVC. As I speak, arrangements are being made and they are taken across the country for distribution. Now, the last information with respect to this segment of this question is that the fourth and final quarter for registration is ongoing. It's going to end on the 30th of June this year. Please take advantage of this opportunity. Because, to key in some of the things that was said by Mr. President, INEC have developed robust systems that are replicable, sustainable, to deliver credible election. The era of mudslide, landslide, in fact, all houses of electoral evil across the country, with the beavers, with the fact that today, by virtue of the 2022 Electoral Act, with respect to provision of section 47, Section 150, Section 50 in particular, polling unit results are going to be uploaded into the cloud. Of course, in the general parlance, it's being described as transmission and all of that. What we basically do is to upload that result right there at the point to the cloud. And that's why today, Ondo result, governorship election result, Edo, Anambra, all the elections we have done. If I open the system here, once you give you the code, you can go to the cloud and you get all the results. So the question of people thinking that at the polling unit, when you are proceeding to work collection center, you are going to change results. That's not going to happen anymore. In fact, the polling unit is now going to be the center of universe. Look, ideally, the idea that people will have to be going to tribunal, court, we want to end the business of tribunal in this country. Because even Britain, that introduced Nigeria to election rigging, for a period of 99 years, there had never been a post-election adjudication until 2010. And so what we have done to handle 2023 is different from what we have seen before. And that is why, if you look at all the elections we have conducted recently, nobody has gone to tribunal to challenge the true procedure of that election. But they are challenging issues about whether you are qualified, whether an appropriate body nominated you as a candidate. These are the issues they are talking about. So politicians should understand what we are doing. No more incident form. You cannot warehouse BBC for any purpose anymore. The figures, outcome of elections, now reflects the actual people who have come out to vote, and that is what you are going to see by 2023. But having talked about that, I think that the lawmaker consistently, in recognition of the fact that democracy, liberal democracy, some of the greatest fundamental flaws of liberal democracy is the assumption that the people will make informed, rational choice on election day. But as we have seen across the world, poverty, the level of literacy will determine whether a voter will use or see his or her vote or ballot paper as a commodity for sale. And so, they need to be informed now that your vote will count. That when you sell your vote, you have forfeited the right to ask for accountability. Election only gives vertical accountability, whereas after election, there must be a horizontal accountability.
Right, I'm going
Those
to
who hold public office
here,
must give an end that justifies the exercise of power within a period of time.
Right.
But to conclude at this point before your question, what is very important here?
You want to take charge of this interview?
I know, I just want to conclude. I just wanted to conclude on the point. To give a back, you got a short legal understanding of where we are coming from, because we are going to move into an area that I consider novel with respect to our civic and voter education, and that is that the lawmaker recognized that because of these fundamental flaws, Part 1, Section 2 of the Electoral Act now says that INEC must educate Nigerians on sound knowledge of democracy and democratic process. So that now will now lead to the question of what kind of information do we give to the people as we go for 2023?
Okay, please, when we try to intervene, don't cut off the anchor. Okay, we are the ones in charge. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Tundu, now he wants to allow you.
If I may actually ask a question. Voter apathy. We've seen a downward decline in participation in elections, and we all know the reasons. A lack of trust in the process, which we've tried to address this morning, security concerns. What exactly is INEC doing to address that problem? What is the difference in approach that we might see in 2023?
The level of apathy should be a very worrisome thing that all of us should be concerned about. And to deal with that is a multi-stakeholder responsibility, that of INEC, political parties, the media, candidates, general populace. We must all engage in this. Because, as you have noted, how do you explain that in 2011, we had over 73.something million on the register, but the total voters turnout was just 39%. By 2015, it dropped down to 30%. And by the last election where we had 84,004,084 on the register, total voter turnout was 28%. What is responsible? As I have noted in all my engagements, at the moment, the political class have failed to rally people around issues that matter to them. That's why people are disengaging. 2, the use of violence by politicians to curtail citizen participation and also deny opponents legitimacy of participation are responsible. And of course, the issue about if I vote, will my vote count in terms of what used to happen before? But you see, every civilization has a primitive past. Yes, it is true that time there was in this country, election was nothing but an organized crime, where even those who are asked to supervise the process are also even involved in manipulating the process. And regrettably, even when such things happen, what has also further led to people losing faith previously was that even religious institutions, they go and organize Thanksgiving, that God give powers to whoever he wishes. And I've asked the question. I asked a pastor, is there a variant of election rigging in Nigeria? The answer is no. Why would people of the same church, of the same faith, they are arguing over the outcome of the election, yet you go to church and the sermon is God gives power to whoever he pleases. So there was a time when election was an organized crime. Now, between 2011 to where we are now, there have been a remarkable departure from what used to obtain before. And that is why we are now calling on Nigerians that look at election of Ondo State, Edo State, Anambra. Who would have thought that even despite what happened, the situation leading to Anambra election, that we have been able to pull through and the election will reflect the will of the people. So the procedure we have put in place is one that it will be difficult, if not impossible, even though we know that implementation is usually the devil. But what we have in place now, innovations have brought in the level of integrity, credibility, confidence unequaled in our electoral history. And that is why I'm calling on Nigerians that if you're able to come out, like the Ghanaians will say, with my vote, I will change Ghana. With your vote, by 2023, you should now come out fully. And so by saying about how do we now deal with the apathy, in dealing with the apathy, all we need to do is for Nigerian people that all those who are making promises to you, what is important for 2023 and beyond is that who can answer the question of all those who are aspiring for different offices, who can answer the question of how and by what means it could be done. That is the more important question for 2023. If we don't frame the question properly and interrogate all the promises being made, again, we are going to be in problem because 2023 should be about education, security, infrastructure, job creation. Who can answer this question? And as you ask your question, I will give an example of how that have defined it in South Korea, and even in the last Obama election, we will draw a few lessons from that. Okay.
So, I mean, you've said a lot of things. It's still around deepening the conversation, because why there's voter apathy is because we don't have enough conversation and people are disillusioned. But, you know, what are the real issues we should focus on? I mean, you've enunciated that. So if, and I'm sure the politicians know this, and when the season comes, they'll bring out their manifesto. But I want to talk further apart from this, you know, in view of, you know, promises being made. But Nigerians are worried and concerned over the quality of people aspiring to position of leadership. What would you like to say about that?
Well, I must say this, that because our value pyramid is upside down, today, your background, who you are, do not matter in our country. As a result, we equate monetary wealth with leadership. Once you have money, you are called a leader in our country. Cannot be true. The fact that you have money doesn't make you a leader. Of course, there are people who are rich, but who have the wherewithal and could really provide leadership. But that's not for everybody. And so the quality of people who are going into public office in Nigeria is going down. Today, we have people either elected or aspiring to be who have no philosophical insight to what leadership and service are all about, and many more who are uneducated governmentally want to be in position of leadership. But because the political party that we have, you should know that in the final analysis, the choices that people are called to make on election day are choices already made by political parties. And so the leadership recruitment process is very important. And that is why the South Korean model is very important. That is why what happened in 2012 in America when Obama was going for second term, Mitt Romney came out as a challenger. And Mitt Romney gave fantastic promises to the American people. But the American people, either because of their level of sophistication, the level of literacy, and the standard of living, so to speak, and all that, they were able to ask Mitt Romney, all the things that you have promised, could you please tell the Americans how you are going to do it? By what means? How are you going to fund this project? Mitt Romney said he was going to block some leakages. They said, okay, fine. Could you identify these leakages? And what will it amount to? Romney could not answer that question. So in 2020, as we are going for 2023, in line with Part 1, Section 2 of the Electoral Act with respect to the duty of INEC, because in the final, I don't vote on election day. It is those of you who are not, those who are in essential services, who will now vote. It is the decision you make that will affect the life I live. So what will now happen in 2023 is that all those who are coming out, you want to go to governorship, you want to be a governor, you are going to House of Assembly, National Assembly, you must subject them to the following issues. Education. Who can create jobs? The best way to deal with insecurity is not necessarily about acquisition of more arms. You must create opportunity. So who can answer this question? Who must interrogate anybody making a promise? You must ask that person. By what means? How will you do it? And not just, I will do this, I will do that. No, we should move beyond promises now. That is why debate is very important. But regrettably, I am not seeing conversation around the issue that should attract, that should excite the people. This also largely refers to the fact that at the moment, our democracy, we are just operating at the middle. The foundation is very weak. We don't have local government election. I grew up, as a growing up somebody, local government used to be the most important tier of administration that I was used to. But today, apart from what has just happened in Kaduna now, at the state level across the Federal Republic of Nigeria, there's no democracy properly going on there. So when you are talking about electing people who will be going to the capital city or electing people who are going to Abuja, they are far away from the people. So that is what is also responsible for the level of apathy. There's no excitement anymore. You see, if today we are debating education, economy, infrastructure, it will be easy for people to know who can do the job. That is what you must do. Umpire, ours is the process. Ours is also to educate. But one thing we cannot do is to say, vote for this party, vote for that party. That is clearly out of the remit of the umpire. But the umpire has a duty to educate. That is what the law says. Educate Nigerians on sound knowledge of democracy and democratic process. And that is what we are doing. And that's what we continue to do as we move forward. Because the way things are at the moment, we must use 2023 and beyond. No set of elites can solve the problem of any society. Nation building is work in progress. That's why American people will tell you that their forefathers gave them did not give them a perfect union. But the duty and responsibility of every elected public official in America is to perfect the union. Our duty is to recognize where we are, where we want to be, 2023 and beyond. And that is why 2023 election should be about issues. Religion, ethnicity, it's not going to be helpful to anybody. Will not put food on the table of any Nigerian. And that is why Nigerians, whatever you feel about election in the past, I can tell you here that by virtue of Section 47, by virtue of Section 50 of the Electoral Act, please come out. Your vote will not only count, it will be counted and taken into account in determining.
To the next question.
Should be.
On the front page of This Day Today, the president is quoted as saying, Buhari, with advancement in technology, no one can claim millions of votes again. And I guess in that regard, the president was referring to innovations in the Electoral Act 2022. The civil society groups have identified up to about 4 major items that are of interest there. For example, in Section 51, overvoting has been redefined. In Section 8, we've been told that INEC officials have to be politically neutral and that will be monitored. In Section 3, subsection 3, there is talk about early release of results. In Section 50, electronic transmission of results. There is also a section, electronic accreditation of voting.
47.
No, that's 47. 47. You are correct. And then there's disability in 57, disabled persons, to make the election more inclusive,
correct,
to make the process more transparent. What is the guarantee that this will make the 2023 general elections better than previous elections? Because we've had cases of INEC machines not working, internet failing, people not being able to do biometric accreditation under BVAS. What does INEC have in place to make sure that this technology that President Buhari is referring to will work in 2023? Do you have any information in that regard?
Dr. Abati, I will need to say this here, that the human element is very critical in every turn of election management. As a matter of fact, the outcome of election anywhere in the world is a reflection of the collective values of all the people. Because as you would have seen, and I've said it over and again, that of the 13 to 15 stages of election day implementation, INEC is usually, we end at the third stage. Abuja, the headquarters, brings all material to the states. At the state level, you take them to the local government. From the local government level, you give them to what you call the SPO, Supervising Presiding Officer. From there downward to the polling unit, we now have 176,846 across the country. We now have U-corpers and other Nigerians who are going to be involved in the process. So you find out that on the day of election, beyond planning for 4 years, and look, Abati, if you know the amount of effort being put in place to plan for election for 4 years, it will be it's already very painful to some of us that you see the kind of sabotage that you find on election day where suddenly there's late arrival of men and material. Who is responsible for that? We have developed relationship with NURTW, NATO car vehicle owner, enter an agreement. You ask for, what do you call it, a half payment. You make all the payment. On the eve of election, they ask for full payment. You make for full payment. On election day, when they take men to the polling unit, they are asking you that, no, it's going to be per trip, just to sabotage the process. People will think that, oh, INEC did not plan. No, that's not correct. But again, those are critical areas because innovations are not self-implementing. Innovations are not self-executory. it is hard to deal with the human being. So the human element is very key. And that is why we draw attention of those we are going to engage to the following. That, for example, today, a returning officer, you can no longer generate, publish, result that is contrary to what has happened. INEC can now review by virtue of the current act. Secondly, Section 120 of the Electoral Act has made it, a serious offense for any presiding officer without option of fine if you fail to transmit the result as expressed by the people, you go for 3-year jail term. Now, issue about being about overvote, Section 51, that is very clear. Before now, overvoting was based on total number of registered voters. Then we have said over time, why would you base it on total registered voters instead of total number of accredited voters? The law has brought that in now. So we are going to see sanity in that area. That is to deal with those who have been using that to rig election. And of course, when the president said the era of moonslide or landslide is over, it's actually going to be over. But we need the cooperation of everybody. Because for a successful election, we have about 6 critical actors. The umpire himself must, and of course we continue to be committed to that, to show absolute neutrality. Security must show absolute neutrality. And in any case, judiciary, and of course, here I am not very comfortable, I'm not very happy with my colleagues in the bench. And individually, I've had to talk to some of them about what is going on. Sometimes some of the orders we get, we have got to a level in the country right now where we go for election. We don't even know the candidate until after election. So we are forced to declare on the basis of the fact that vote are cast for political party. You remember, either in Bayelsa, in Imo, Central election, we didn't even know the candidate. But the question is, all the issues that were domiciled in the court, why did the court have to wait for all of that time? So you need the cooperation of the judiciary, the political parties, the candidate. But the greatest threat to our democracy have already remained the political elite. They prefer chaos to order. They try more when they cause chaos. They are the ones who recruit thugs. We now have a country where we have association of thugs everywhere. They do intrastate and interstate election thuggery services for politicians, just as you have people who are responsible for hiring crowd for election. So for 2023 election, INEC is doing no bit. Other key stakeholders we also have to come in so that we can build a society where there will be opportunity for all and responsibility from all.
Well, on that note, we would like to thank you very much for joining us. A lot more to talk about. Since you're a lawyer, we would have loved your reaction to the furore over Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act, and maybe Tundu, you want to take that on.
So what are the implications of that? And we've seen, Section 8412, the notification by the court. We've seen in some states there have been resignations of political office holders by the federal level now.
You see, every electoral enactment should be interpreted to be seen as for the purpose of to cure a mischief. The interpretation that you accord with the principle of electoral democracy should be one that will allow for a level playing field. That is what we accord with the idea that when people are going for election, one person should not have undue advantage over other. So the matter will go to the higher court. We'll wait until we hear what the court will finally say. Otherwise, as I said, all lawyers will have different opinion on one subject matter.
Okay. Thank you so much, Igini, for your time here.